When it comes to being popular, Meg Griffin is one of the very last names you'd think of in Family Guy. She's not prom queen material. She's not even mildly tolerated by her peers material. Yet that hasn't stopped her one bit from trying her hardest. From disastrous makeovers to plots so over the top they'd make a soap opera blush, Meg's quest for social relevance is a masterclass in chaos. So, grab some popcorn and brace yourself, as today we're diving into every cringy, chaotic, and downright jaw-dropping moment Meg Griffin put it all on the line to snag a seat at the cool kids' table. The first episode we're diving into is without a doubt the weirdest of the bunch. In Season 13, Episode 9, This Little Piggy, Meg Griffin takes a headfirst plunge into the glamorous world of foot fetish, erotica. Alright, erotica is too long a word, so we're just going to use corn from now on to describe you know what. The chaos kicks off at Quahog Preschool, where Stewie Griffin is celebrating a major milestone, graduating from the green room to the purple room. Big deal, apparently. The family's there to witness this historic moment, and while everyone's clapping for Stewie, a cameraman slides up to Meg.
Hey, how are you?
I was just putting this cake in my purse for a friend.
Sure you were. After some awkward small talk with Meg, he introduces himself as a modeling scout, which, looking back at it, should have been the first red flag, because I can't think of any good reason for a modeling scout to be at a preschooler's event. In any case, he convinces Meg, who isn't too sure of herself, to give modeling a chance, before leaving her with his contact card. It doesn't take too long for Meg to make up her mind, because we all know she isn't about to pass up a chance to become famous, and so she heads off to the modeling studio, but not before informing her parents.
Where are you off to? Actually, I met a photographer at Stewie's school yesterday, and he wants me to model for him.
And I think you can already tell what their reaction would be.
Lois, please send these back to the factory. I believe they're defective.
Oh my God, Peter, did you just rip your own ears off?
Yes he did. Meg, undeterred by her parents' doubts, heads to the studio for her big debut. What follows is a painfully awkward photo shoot where Meg strikes poses in a swimsuit. Honestly, not terrible if she was auditioning for a skinny fat mag. Unknown to Meg, however, the photos she just took were for a different kind of audience altogether.
Wait, Ben, are they all of my feet?
Well, Meg, the thing is, my name's Evan, by the way, a lot of people will pay good money for pictures of sexy feet.
And by a lot of people, he means 18% of the straight male population. Which I'm not a part of, by the way. Seriously, I'm not. Knowing how that she's been recruited for some foot corn, Meg begins to have some doubts about the whole thing. And it is at this point you'd normally expect her parents to step in with some solid advice, but the moment Meg steps through the family door, well, it's safe to say she isn't getting any golden nuggets from them.
Yeah, what kind of photo shoot was it?
Did they take a picture of you eating a whole pizza pie next to an astonished chef?
Yep, just top-class parenting all around. Their mockery ends up being the deciding factor for Meg to continue with the foot corn, as she now sees it as a means to prove her parents wrong. Plus, there's this one little statistic.
You got 35,000 views in one night, and none of them got past the fourth picture.
Sadly, I think we all know what that means. So Meg continues to advance her foot corn career with her parents none the wiser, which they can only blame themselves for. However, their time in the dark soon comes to a screeching halt when Chris stumbles upon a little something. I mean, is anyone even surprised? 15 minutes later, and no, I didn't stutter, Chris rushes down the stairs to inform his parents of what he just uncovered.
Mom, Dad, Meg is doing
What? Oh my God! Peter, our little girl is doing
Now she's your little girl, eh? As the saying goes, it's never too late, at least to save Meg, who's 1 foot pick away from the AV Awards. Peter and Lois confront Meg, but she's over their constant mockery and decides to go full throttle into her newfound fame. Meg ends up leaving home and driving off with a cameraman who, honestly, I still couldn't care less about his name. Apparently, there's a huge, party being thrown in Meg's name. Lois, who still hasn't given up on saving Meg from going too deep into corn, drags Peter all the way to Quagmire's house to find out where this party is being thrown.
Says there's a Shukaki party tonight.
Shukaki? What's that?
It's 50 guys, 1 foot.
Yep, who else but Quagmire? The rest of the episode sees Peter and Lois crash the Shukake. Gosh, I can't believe I just said that. Dropping a heartfelt apology to Meg before returning with her in time for a cozy family dinner, but not before settling a little something with the cameraman.
What did you say is going on the other side of this curtain?
Don't worry about it. Just keep watching Tower Heist.
Might as well put those bad boys to use, am I right? Gosh, that sounded better in my head. In the end, Meg's 15 minutes of fame turned out to be a bust. But hey, there's always room for another try, right? And as it turns out, her next attempt kind of ended on a more successful note. The episode kicks off in classic Family Guy chaos: a thunderstorm, a plane, and a full-blown drug smuggling operation. Because, of course. Yep, makes total sense. Fast forward through some cartoon logic, one lightning strike, a plane crash, and a spilt cargo of psychedelic toads later, and Quahog is dealing with its latest crisis.
In local news, a new drug craze may have Quahog students licked. It's called Toad.
Now, while the town panics, Meg sees an opportunity. Holding a toad for the school's reigning queen bee, Connie D'Amico, might just earn her a ticket out of social oblivion.
I thought if I held Connie D'Amico's toad, she'd make one of the cool guys ask me to the winter snowball.
You're holding drugs so someone will invite you to a dance?
Yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds worse than it already is. But for Meg, this is survival. High school is brutal, and she's willing to risk everything, even jail time, for just a shred of popularity. Unfortunately for Meg, her plan unravels faster than a loose thread. Her dad, Peter, decides to help by going undercover at Adam West High to take down the Toad Ring. And in true Peter fashion, his alter ego, Lando Griffin, immediately becomes the center of attention.
So tell me, homeboy, how about the baggy clothes we kids are wearing these days? Aren't they fat and stupid and poppin' fresh?
Meg, as you'd expect, is already in full panic mode. Not only does she now go to school with her dad, but he's not exactly the most subtle guy in Adam West High. And so it doesn't take long for Lando, to start making headlines.
Ow! 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 Oh, God! Ow! Ow! Ow!
Cool, he's bleeding, just like in the movies.
Cue Lando's rise to fame, complete with a musical takedown of Toad culture that makes High School Musical look like an absolute walk in the park. With Lando now the hottest guy in school, it becomes pretty clear to Meg that her father is her ticket out of obscurity. And what does she do with that ticket? Well, she cashes in on it for the upcoming school dance.
How come I'm going to the winter snowball with Lando?
Meg, you got a date? Oh, wait till I tell your mother, who I'm looking forward to meeting.
For the first time, Meg has something to look forward to at school, but this is Family Guy, so you know things won't stay peachy for long. And so when Connie D'Amico gives Lando a phone call asking him to the dance, Lando, as you'd expect, does the most Peter Griffin thing you can imagine.
Hey, I thought you were taking me to the dance.
Something suddenly came up.
I mean, why be a supportive dad when you can be a pedophile? I'm sorry, Peter, but you're just so wrong here. And so just like that, Meg's dreams of a social glow-up crash harder than that toad-filled plane. By the time Peter wins king and queen of the dance with Connie, Meg has already thrown in the towel and accepted her place in the shadows. But in a not-so-surprising twist, because, well, Peter isn't all that bad, he gives a heartfelt speech that pretty much sends all the limelight back on Meg.
Pull it. I can't be your king.
We then get the whole generic speech about how Meg is supposed to be the one, blah blah blah, before telling everyone he'll be riding off into the sunsets, or in this case, riding recklessly into the night and up Dead Man's Curve, thus putting an end to the story of Lando Griffin, while also giving Meg a much-needed popularity boost. Sure, it's short-lived, but for one shining moment, Meg Griffin ends her night as anything but the butt of the joke, and for her, that's a win. But there have been some times when Meg's quest for social validation wasn't some fairy tale story. In Season 8, Episode 11, Dial Meg for Murder, we get to see Meg Griffin hit her breaking point. Turns out, years of being the family punching bag and the universes, let's be honest, can do that to a person. The episode kicks off with a local rodeo competition being announced in Quahog, which, as you'd expect, is pretty much Peter Griffin territory.
Oh god, this seems like the kind of thing Peter...
Too late, Brian.
Peter, you're gonna enter the rodeo? That's stupid.
I mean, that's exactly why he's doing it. It's pretty obvious that stupidity and danger are like peanut butter and jelly for your husband. Anyway, so Peter begins rehearsing for his rodeo competition, and by rehearsing I mean a whole lot of chaos with a little bit of child abuse sprinkled in.
Dad, what are you doing?
All right, Meg, this is only gonna hurt for about 3 weeks. What the hell?
Let's just move on. Fast forward to Rodeo Day, where Peter's disaster of a performance is happening in full view of the town. Meanwhile, Brian is in the stands giving us this gem of social commentary.
It's amazing that this is still legal. And the only reason I'm here is because my idiot friend is in the rodeo.
I only came because I'm writing a magazine article.
Turns out, The Spectator is an editor for Teen Magazine, and Brian jumps on the chance to pitch himself, because of course he does. She gives him an assignment to write about the life of a teenage girl, and who better to write about, than Meg. Cue Brian and Stewie following Meg around town, only to end up at Quahog's correctional facility. Inside, they find Meg getting up close and personal with an inmate through the visitor's glass.
Oh my god! Meg's dating a convict!
After weighing the matter in his mind, Brian decides to be a good boy and report the issue to Peter and Lois. Meg, who feels betrayed by Brian and hounded by her parents, pretty much turns the whole thing into a pity party.
Luke and I really connect very deeply. He's all alone in there, and I'm all alone out here. In a way, we're both in prison.
Wow, that's some next-level gaslighting right there. Lois isn't buying it and grounds Meg, sending her to her room to wallow in teenage angst. But before he can say Romeo and Juliet, Luke pops up outside her window. Their heartfelt reunion ruined by Brian barging in to apologize, then immediately sniffing out Luke's hiding spot.
Meg, are you crazy? You can't harbor a fugitive. That's a felony.
Only if someone finds out. Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna tell on me again?
Only he doesn't have to because Peter comes in just in time to see the whole situation. Luke makes a run for it, forcing Peter to ring up Joe for police backup. Joe captures Luke and it seems like the whole fiasco is finally over. However, there is one little twist to the whole thing.
Well, if you're taking him to jail, you have to take me too.
I know, that's the plan. You're under arrest for harboring an escaped convict.
Is there anybody this guy wouldn't arrest? Jeez, talk about being a square. After a few weeks behind bars, the day of Meg's release is finally here. Lois, who has been worried about her daughter all this while, begins to make preparations for her and Peter to go pick her up. However, they end up not needing to because Meg comes home by herself. Only this isn't the Meg they knew before. Not by a long shot.
I'm home. You're all my bitches now.
Thanks to her time in prison, Meg is now a full-blown bandana-wearing, tank-top sporting alpha. It doesn't take long for her to exert her dominance in the house by putting down the big guy. And by that I mean bashing Peter's teeth in.
My house now, bitch.
After bullying her family into submission, Meg takes her reign of terror to the rest of Quahog, cracking skulls at Adam West High before fleeing town with Brian as her hostage. They stop at a convenience store for supplies, by which I mean Meg robs Mort Goldman at gunpoint.
Hi, Meg. Can I help you?
Hands in the air, Goldman.
Oh my god! What are you doing?
Give me your money.
Luckily for Goldman and for everyone still rooting for Meg, Brian talks her down by showing her an article he wrote about her. It's a touching piece, painting her as resilient, sweet, and kind. 3 adjectives that have never been used for Meg Griffin, which of course moves her to finally seeing the error of her ways.
Oh my god, I can't believe I did this. I was just so tired of being everyone's whipping girl that it felt kind of good to do some of the whipping.
And so, we finally see why Meg is always so caught up with seeking validation and improving her social status. To her, it seems like the only way that people would stop picking on her. The episode ends, as usual, with the family back together and Meg avoiding another prison sentence, which if we're being honest, she actually would have deserved that one. So far, we've seen Meg's desperate attempts to climb the social ladder blow up in her face or land her in jail. But what happens when she finally achieves the ultimate prize? Actual popularity. In Family Guy, Season 4, Episode 4, Don't Make Me Over, we get a front row seat to a glimpse of an alternate reality. Meg Griffin, popular. And let me tell you, it's about as chaotic as you'd expect when you sprinkle high school drama with Griffin family shenanigans. The episode kicks off with Meg doing her usual, awkwardly ogling boys from the nerd table like it's a high school nature documentary. Enter Craig Hoffman, resident bad boy and Meg's next unfortunate target. Egged on by her equally clueless friends, she decides to shoot her shot. Spoiler alert, she misses by a mile.
How about a movie?
I don't go out with dudes.
Oof, that one hurt. Naturally, this public humiliation sends Meg spiraling into an existential crisis. Fueled by insecurities, she turns to the two most qualified people to help, her parents.
Mom, Dad, am I ugly?
Oh, of course not, sweetie.
Yeah, where'd you get a stupid idea like that?
For a second, Peter actually gives a decent answer. And then, like clockwork, he reminds us why he's on the worst TV dads of all time leaderboard.
Craig Hoffman.
Craig Hoffman said that? Well, he's a sharp kid. You might be ugly.
Cue the waterworks, and yeah, I hate myself for laughing too. But while Peter is busy being, well, Peter, Lois decides to mom up and take Meg on a good old-fashioned shopping spree to cure her totally fixable ugly problem. However, it doesn't take long for both of them to realize that Meg's problem might just be too much for regular clothes to fix.
How do these jeans look?
God damn, talk about killer looks. With rock bottom officially reached, Meg stumbles upon a glimmer of hope. Thanks to a bit of Family Guy logic, a local news station just happens to be doing a makeover giveaway in the mall she's in.
Some lucky, hideous woman will be transformed by our makeover magicians into someone of value to society.
And who better to fill the hideous woman slot than Quahog's reigning queen of awkward? Now, I must confess that I didn't have that much of an expectation with her makeover, but in fact, I was expecting it to backfire with the episode being a huge joke on that. But to my surprise, and the rest of the Griffin family, Meg's little makeover turned out to be anything but little.
Peter, take a look at your daughter.
It's safe to say the makeover artist really was a magician. Thanks to her brand new look, Meg quickly becomes the center of Adam West High. Everyone is complimenting her, all the boys, including Craig, want to go out with her, and for the first time ever, Connie D'Amico has something nice to say about someone other than herself. Yet the real impact of Meg's newfound beauty would show itself in the unlikeliest of places, in jail, while listening to her father perform with his band. Very long story, trust me. The short version, however, is that Peter's band, if you can even call it that, managed to secure a gig at the Quahog Correctional Facility, which turned out to be a massive flop.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Oh my God, we don't know any songs.
You shut off the stage!
Lois once again jumps in to save the day, but the real showstopper happens when the prisoners catch a glimpse of Meg.
Chris, grab a guitar. Brian, take the drums. Here, Stewie, play with this.
Mom, can we please just get out of here?
Yes, Meg Griffin just became the prison's Beyoncé. Never thought I'd say that. From here, we're treated to a Griffin family performance, with Meg as the lead. Because apparently, if you're blonde and attractive, singing talent just magically appears. The performance lands the family a record deal with Interscope Records thanks to its CEO, who happens to be in jail for stomping a cat to death. Honestly, that checks out. Peter, as you'd imagine, jumps at the opportunity because why read the fine print when all you need to do is sign on someone's butt cheek?
Oh crap, today's the 17th.
So, the Griffins land in the studio and quickly get to work recording their next hit. There, their new manager, Mr. Diddy, then presents them with this plan for their new musical group.
We gotta get her half naked and put her out front center stage, and that's gonna make y'all billionaires.
Yep, that's definitely something Diddy would say. Lois, as you'd imagine, isn't exactly thrilled about the whole idea. Unlike Peter, who, let's just say, is only concerned about getting on TV. Meg, on the other hand, is basically over the moon with the whole idea, because as we know, all she ever wanted was some fame and success. By the time they start touring, it becomes clear that Meg's newfound beauty and fame are getting to her head. So much so that she's pretty much turned Lois into her own personal waiter.
Lois, go grab me another bag of Skittles.
Excuse me, young lady?
Did I freaking stutter? I said more Skittles.
Which, of course, is just about the last straw for Lois, who decides it's time to pull the plug on their whole performance party. However, Dr. Diddy appears just in time to announce that he's got Meg a spot at Saturday Night Live. Peter, who was already beginning to side with Lois, quickly does a 180, and just like that, the Griffins are on their way to New York. The moment they get to the studio floor, Jimmy Fallon is already waiting to receive them, or to be precise, Meg. She's the one he has his eyes set on.
Hey, why don't you come hang out in my dressing room?
What are you looking at?
Nothing. Come on, let's go.
The plot at this point is already staring us in the face. Jimmy sleeps with Meg, they have some cringe pillow talk. It turns out the cameras have been rolling ever since. Meg flees in shame, and Peter? Well, Peter gets to beat the crap out of a TV show host.
Who do you think you are, Carol Burnett? You think because she did it, it's okay for you? You haven't earned what she's earned, buddy.
All right, now where's the guy who slept with my daughter?
Never change, Peter. Never change. The episode ends with the Griffins returning to their lives back in Quahog, with Meg reverting to her old looks because, as she's quickly learned, being beautiful and popular isn't always as it's made out to be.